You know the saying, you wait ages for a bus and then two come along at once? This might be what's about to happen at Newcastle. They wait ages for a trophy and then two come along at once. Because for the Magpies, a cup double is well and truly on. Eddie Howe's team have taken care of business in both the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. Two very different games and performances, but job done in both, and that set up a very real opportunity for a historic Carabao and FA Cup double. So let's talk about that, why that's realistic, and why winning the cups could be a blessing and a curse. Let's talk about it.
Football bread.
Hi guys, welcome to the video. My name's Paul and this is Football Bread. So in case you missed it, Newcastle absolutely destroyed Arsenal, my team, to reach the Carabao Cup final. 2-0 in the second leg, 4-0 on aggregate, and it is the most one-sided two-legged cup semi-final I've personally ever watched. Eddie Howe has completely outcoached Arteta 3 times this season. The 5 at the back with the centre-backs pressing, that plan was genius. Alexander Isak scared the life and composure out of both Gabriel and Saliba. Anthony Gordon was incredible as well, and Kieran Trippier, the one who started it all, the first big player signed under PIF, he rolled back the clock and he delivered a vintage KT performance. Newcastle's pressing was suffocating. Arsenal couldn't breathe. We couldn't live with you at all. And you can't do anything other than take your hat off. I don't have a hat to take off, but if I had one, I'd take it off. An absolutely fantastic team with an elite manager. It's hard to believe that this side have managed to lose 2 home games recently. Honestly, it beggars belief because this is such a good side. Those are 2 really out of character performances, and Newcastle are just fantastic. Not that the media ever wants to give you guys any credit whatsoever. They almost always focus on the failings of the other team, and not enough is said about how great Newcastle perform, and it's just ridiculous. It needs to be called out. It's ridiculous because you guys deserve a lot more praise, and I hope we start to see more of that moving forward. Look, after Arsenal won 5-1 against Man City, all the talk was that if we got an early goal, Newcastle would capitulate, but as it is...
Everybody want to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
Because Newcastle were the ones who struck first, and after that there was only ever going to be one winner. They booked their place in the Carabao Cup final, and they'll face Liverpool in the final on March the 16th. Now look, that's going to be a tough game. We know that's going to be a tough game. But I think after the defeat in 2023, these guys will be so determined not to miss the opportunity to give the fans and to give the city a well-deserved trophy. So they'll be well up for this one. I'm looking forward to seeing how that final shakes out. But listen, fast forward to Saturday the 8th, and the Newcastle side that saw 9 changes to the starting 11 got over the line, pun intended, against Birmingham in a cracking FA Cup tie. A welcome goal for Wilson and a brace from Joe Willock put Birmingham to the sword. But not before Iwata scored the hardest shot I've seen since Arjen Robben's 180-mile-an-hour rocket against Borussia Dortmund back in the day, for those of us who are old enough to recall that. Look, should we talk about the Nick Pope ball to Asula and that first touch? Crazy. But yeah, that win takes them into the 5th round, and by the time you're watching this video, the draw for the 5th round might have already happened. But if not, it's tonight at 7:10 on BBC One if you're interested in watching that. With Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal and Spurs now all out of the FA Cup. Not that Newcastle would have any fear of facing Arsenal this season. Newcastle are only 3 FA Cup wins from being in a 2nd cup final. But Newcastle won't fear anybody left in the competition. They know that when they turn up, they can beat absolutely anyone. But wait, here's the dilemma. Some would argue that Newcastle could really do without this FA Cup run. Qualifying for the Champions League is a more important objective for their long-term aspirations. Without top 4, keeping the likes of Isak, Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali and Botman starts to get a lot harder. Newcastle owners have ambition, but the PSR and the fact that the best players want to play on the biggest stages, it feels like the Champions League for Newcastle could be make or break. So what matters more, silverware now or Champions League next season. And with a small squad, these extra games could really end up costing Newcastle. Case in point is Dan Burns picking up an injury in the Birmingham game. That is really bad news for Newcastle. Not what they need right now at all. Botman picked one up against Arsenal. Gordon has an issue with his quad as well. Joe Linton's already out, so there's already lots of key players that are unlikely to be available for a very important Premier League tie with Manchester City, who are direct rivals for a Champions League spot. So it's really tough for the Magpies. And I understand why some might feel that this FA Cup run is not in the club's best interest. But my thinking on it is this: you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You're in between a rock and a hard place. I think throwing away competitions, purposely losing, that can be cancerous to a club's culture. It sends the wrong message, and ultimately I think it undermines that winning mentality that you need to be a top side. Also, throwing cup competitions doesn't guarantee you a top 5 finish. It may give you a better chance, but it's not set in stone that if you drop out of the cups, you definitely qualify for the Champions League. It doesn't work like that. So I don't think Newcastle have much of a choice but to try and win everything they can and just let the chips fall where they may. Cliche as it might be, they need to just take one game at a time, and that's it. It will be what it will be. Also, let's say that Newcastle do win a cup or two. The high of ending a 70-year wait for a major domestic trophy on top of what would definitely be one of the most incredible trophy parades ever. Experiencing that and having the knowledge that you have a side that can get over the line, that may be enough to convince the top players that they can fulfill their ambitions at Newcastle. So I think Newcastle have to go for it. They aren't in a position to pick and choose their ambitions. This is their moment. If they want to be elite, they have to operate with an elite ambition. There's no two ways about it though. This is a phenomenal Newcastle side. This is one of the strongest teams Newcastle United has ever had, and I'm excited to see what they will end up achieving this season. But listen, red pill, blue pill, if you had to pick top 4 or a trophy or 2, which one would you pick? Let me know in the comments. Can Newcastle end their 70-year trophy drought with an unbelievable cup double, or should they sacrifice the FA Cup in fear of the extra strain that those games would put on what is a small squad? Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Football bread.